Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Real Reviews with SOC. Hope and pray that you're doing well. We're going to step into the multiverse of madness, although it seems like I had a multiverse of madness. So let's get started. All right, everybody. So people in the chat, we got Roxby. She brought the pizza, as it should be always. And so we're going to be talking about the multiverse of madness. Yes, the Real Reviews crew has been on a hiatus, but we're back with one at a time, and maybe we'll begin our season eventually. But just want to say what's up to everybody. Shout out to Dinu in the chat. Welcome, sis. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Roxby with the pizza. Hey, sis. And of course, the Sorcerer Supreme LJ with his four eyes. All right, man. Up. Benjamin. Ben. What's going on, man? So it's been a while. So here's how we're going to do this today. We're going to keep it pretty simple. We're going to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is what we liked about the film. The bad is what we probably thought should have a little more improvement or didn't like about the film. And of course, the ugly we'll talk about just general things where the film kind of diverts from scripture or promotes something contrary to scripture. So we're going to make it very simple. So before we get started, I want to go ahead and introduce the panel. Of course, we have to start with the movie. The reason the movie was made was for our Scarlet Sorceress Supreme. Michelle, say what's up to the people and what have you been up to since we've been on hiatus?
Hello, everyone. I have become, of course, the Sorcerer Supreme. I mean, that's what happened when you for the streets. That's all I really been up to is been for the streets, running amok, causing madness in the streets is really what's going on. So I'm here to make an appearance. So, don't get a line. I'm very powerful. That's all I got for y'all.
Awesome. The Nate 2, D2, what's going on, bro? What have you been up to and all that good stuff, man?
Hello, everyone. I am Nate2D2. Yes, the Nate2D2. Other than watching movies and sleeping, I haven't been doing anything else. I woke up just for this live stream, so it's good to be awake. It's good to be woke.
Good to be woke. Awesome. And of course, we cannot neglect our fellow BK apologist. What's going on, bro, man? What have you been up to? Where can people find you?
Man, you can find me in these YouTube streets under the Nom de Plume BK Apologist. What I've been doing is the target of my back has gotten bigger and bigger, Both Hebrews and the Conscious community seem to have taken issue with me as of late, thanks to Vocab Malone. Mm-hmm. And, I'm here.
Awesome. Okay, so I figure, of course, we start with the good, the bad, the ugly. But before we jump into those main categories, let's start with our overall general thoughts of the film, and we'll lead into the things that we liked. So this will be kind of like our general, understanding of the film, what we liked, and of course, our general thoughts. So we have to start with The Sorcerer Supreme. This was your film, just like The Batman was my movie. I think that we can easily say that this is your film. So I'll let you begin. What did you like about the film? What were your general thoughts?
I love the film. I give it, I won't give my rating yet, but yes, no, it's very high. I really love the film. It was everything that I was expecting. I don't know what everybody else was expecting, but I watched the original Doctor Strange a million times. So I wasn't expecting what everyone else was expecting. The one unexpected thing that came that I actually liked, I love horror films. Like, I love some horror films, and it's kind of like a take on the horror films. So we see Bill Campbell, without giving up too much yet. So we see Bill Campbell, and when I seen, because he's been in quite a few of the Marvel movies anyway, but when I seen him, and all I could think of was like the horror aspect, the Evil Dead, Zombie Strange. I mean, come on, like it was perfect. So I just really loved how they're opening up the multiverse of madness. I'm really enjoying how we see how powerful Wanda actually is. We got to finalize that we're actually the universe that matters in the comic world. So that's what really made me happy. And there's a lot of Easter eggs, and I went to go see it 3 times. I went to go see it once for enjoyment because I wanted to just enjoy it without looking at it. from the real review standpoint. Then I went to take my little cousin, and I did kind of have my real reviews eyes on. And then like that time, I was like, I seen so much stuff. I was like, how did I miss some of this stuff? Because I was just enjoying the movie. And then I went to go see it today, just for preparation. When you're the Sorcerer Supreme, you have to be ready. So I went to go see it today, and I took my little sticky note pad. So I have sticky notes of all the amazing things of this movie. So, I mean, if nobody else talks, I got y'all, because I am ready. I am ready. The movie's amazing. It was fantastic. I have my Aya Agamotto on that I got as a gift, so y'all know I'm watching y'all.
She got her third eye open, it seems. Cool.
Stay woke.
Stay woke. Nate 2D2, overall thoughts, general thoughts of the film, man.
Well, I'm kind of envious that she got to see it 3 times. I only got to see it the once because I didn't have that much cash to burn, and I didn't have the excuse of taking anyone. So hopefully I can remember it. I felt that it was good. I felt it could have been gooder. At least that's my impression of the of just the one viewing. I have a feeling, and I always say this, obviously, like I don't know, like I could like it more of the second viewing. I have a feeling, kind of like with Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron, I came out of that theater kind of with mixed feelings. I think maybe because I was expecting something different. I look back on it now, I really enjoy watching it, partly because of the strands that you get later that lead off of from Age of Ultron. So I kind of feel like the movies that follow this might give a different feel to this movie that I maybe am not appreciating as much right now. I like the beginning. I like the end. I just felt like I wasn't as drawn into the character stories as much as I would have liked.
Mm-hmm.
But all the multiverse stuff, and it was fun to see everyone again, and to see the new characters, and it just didn't quite, I think, feel like as much of a follow-up for Strange's story as much as I wanted. It felt almost like it was focusing a little bit too much on continuing and setting up the MCU, and not as much on developing Doctor Strange's story or even the other characters. But I can get more to the nitty-gritty of that later. But I enjoyed it. Hopefully I'll enjoy it more later.
Cool. BK apologist, bro. Honest thoughts, general thoughts of the film.
Well, I too, like Michelle, was looking forward to this because I as well was a big fan of the first Doctor Strange. I definitely enjoyed it. It was fun. The battle sequences was great. Special effects was dope. I'll get into more specifics of certain things I did like and did not like, of course, when we go around again.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I enjoyed it. It was fun. Would like to see it again.
Cool. For me, so Michelle, please forgive me for my thoughts. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so the film was good, but at the end of the film, I felt like something was missing. I felt almost empty, so there are a lot of cool stuff that I really enjoyed about the film, and I'll talk about that more in the good portion. But there are some things, and it could have been expectations. It could have been, I think, maybe the direction it went. I was expecting when I thought Multiverse of Madness, I thought more multiverse, even though it had one continuous story. I just thought it was going to jump more into that. So that was kind of like my thing. But the film was good. But I think, like Nate, I have to watch it maybe 1 or 2 more times because I only saw it the once. It was really cool. It was a lot to take in, and I felt all right. I'm getting into the bad. Anyway, I love the film. I thought it was good. I thought it could have been better, but it was pretty decent for me. I would definitely watch it 2 or 3 more times. I have no problem. It wasn't like a bad film in any way, but it was just a couple of things I was expecting. But my general overall thoughts, it was good. It was a good Marvel film. Okay, so with that,
I was gonna let one of the Puerto Ricans say it, but y'all didn't.
Here we go. We go.
We have a Latina as
don't.
a superhero.
Wow.
No,
we don't.
Wow. Y'all don't count America? Y'all don't count America? She got the Puerto Rican star when she go through places and everything. Y'all not counting?
Wow.
Y'all not gonna count her?
Wow.
I'll get it. Y'all not happy with who y'all got? This is what I'm talking about. You literally have America Chavez as someone.
We're gonna
who
explain why we say no later, but
okay, because she don't even have a variant. She's already amazing, and she had her own place to live too. So look, that's all I'm saying.
All right, awesome. So Benjamin Handelman shared his thoughts on the film. He said, "Really liked the movie, much better than the first. Doctor Strange felt like his own character, not a Tony Stark clone." I agree. He felt a little more. I didn't even think about it that way, but I do agree with the fact that um, he was like kind of like an offshoot of Tony Stark because they have similar characteristics. Like they're both arrogant. They both, they have the goatee. I could see where somebody might draw that conclusion that this is just a clone. But the character himself is really different, right? And is and his power set and his whole history and things like that. But I definitely see what you're saying. Okay, so we are in the good portion, and since I kind of down talk the film a little bit, I got to talk about the stuff that I actually really enjoyed. Number one, the Scarlet Witch took the show. She owned that film. I felt like it was a Scarlet Witch movie more than anything, or a continuation of our what's the show she was on?
WandaVision.
WandaVision. I think it was better as a continuation for WandaVision as opposed to a continuation of Doctor Strange. This is why I kind of felt a little shaky about it. But anyway, I'll tell you a couple of things that I enjoyed. Number one, the way she came out of that mirror was awesome. I like Sam Raimi's take on like how she came out with the ring and everything was broken and how she was kind of glitching through. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was pretty gutsy because there was this horror element to it. And I could see where the original director, maybe Sam Raimi took a few cues from the original director wanting to make it more of a horror film. And he built on that. Sam Raimi's really good at that. That's his thing. So I think he did awesome. One of the other scenes I really liked was when she was chasing him down the hall, kind of looking like zombie Wanda. I thought that was a really great way to do it, and how she would just appear and she looked like, I think they did Wanda excellent in the Multiverse of Madness. I wish she would have showed her power a little more. I kind of felt like it was pretty basic on what she was doing, but she could have done a lot more as opposed to what we saw, because we all know in this group how powerful Wanda is. But there was just so many elements. I don't want to steal all the really cool things that I'm sure you guys want to talk about as well. So BK, things you liked about the film, man.
Well, I gotta push back a little bit on you. Like, more, bro. She destroyed half of Comatage, and she washed Illuminati. Like, I don't understand. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot. But anyway,
that's a lot to do in a film. I agree.
But more. I would have loved more though. I would not been mad if they did more. Right.
Right.
For me, one of the things I enjoyed was how much he has embraced being Doctor Strange. You know, when he was at the wedding, and you know that big what's that, Gargantor? That name.
Oh, you're talking about a Garganto? Not I'll figure it out.
Gargantus. I wrote it down on my it's right here on my sticky note.
Very good, very good.
Her cliff notes.
Like how smooth he was during that whole fight. Like he had his cape as a handkerchief in his suit, and he took out the cape and how he flipped over the banister.
That was dope.
This dude is so, polished. But even with that, he gets discipled throughout the whole movie.
Right.
It's like he still has to shake off the snarkiness, and the arrogance. It's still there, even though he's been humbled greatly. He hasn't arrived yet. I think the main thing that I think really resonated with him and with me is that you always got to have to be the one with the knife, right? You always have to be in control, and that's the problem. And that's the thing he figured out, and he was able to repent of that towards the end. You know what I mean? So yeah. So that's one thing. Well, I'll share the other thing later, but that's one of the things I appreciate.
Yeah, we can keep talking until we finish all our what we liked about the film. Nate, the good. What did you love or like about the film?
I'm like struggling to think of all the just everything, just because it feels like it's been so long since I've seen it. It hasn't been back.
Does it feel like madness?
It feels like madness. I did. Well, yeah. So kind of like you, I did. I think I was expecting more like multiverse stuff.
Mhm.
But it would have been interesting to see if like I don't know, Ralph Boner turned out to be Quicksilver after all, or something like that.
Right.
But the I think the introduction of the Illuminati was actually pretty cool. I don't know that much about those characters. Like I've heard you guys talk about everything, and I think I'm sure I've heard it like on Screen Crush, but I don't really know those characters. But just seeing everyone, like obviously Professor X showing up, everyone kind of expected that because it was in the trailer. Which I wish they didn't put that in there. Like I feel like you didn't really need to put that in there because it would have been so much sweeter if we didn't know. But still, him showing up with the red chair and then the na 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 na, like that just blew my mind when they did that.
Yeah,
because it's like that is like the X-Men theme, and like I cannot. I mean, the one from the films are pretty good too, but so that was pretty cool. And then obviously like seeing John
he was in his yellow chair. He was in the yellow chair from X-Men 97 cartoon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And and so and then John Krasinski showing up, that was kind of trippy just because I felt because I've seen a lot of like fan art, for fan casting where like, oh, he would be perfect for this, and I felt like I was looking at that. It looked like, I think the last time I remember them actually doing something like that where people were saying this character should play this, and then it happened, was Doctor Strange. And so it was kind of funny seeing it with John Krasinski and just seeing him there. And I was like, oh, wow, that's just like, it felt almost like we were in like another multiverse, or another universe where they actually, it's like, oh, they actually cast him as it. And so that was pretty cool. I'm curious to see if they actually use him for the official version of that. But so all that multiverse stuff was cool. And I actually liked seeing Anson Mount as Black Bolt, because I know a lot of people hated the Inhumans TV show. I didn't. I mean, I don't know anything about the source material, so maybe that's why, but I actually thought that was kind of entertaining. And I like that actor because he's also in the new Star Trek stuff. So seeing him come back and replaying that role, or at least a variant of it, I think that was a lot of fun too. So seeing everything in that moment, I think it was just kind of a fun Easter egg, or kind of fun like icing on top. Like it wasn't I think very crucial to the, as much crucial to the story, to the overall story. I mean, obviously it was important. And seeing Captain Carter as well, that was pretty cool in the live action. So I think that's one of the things that really stuck out in my mind. I liked I think Strange's relationship with America, at least what I felt like they were trying to do. I kind of wish they did more with that. I mean, we can get into when we're doing the bad, but I do like their dynamic. There's just a sort of there is a chemistry there. I felt like they could have played with that more in the in-between stuff. I like seeing them together in the beginning with was it Defender Strange, and then them meeting up, and then her trying to suss him out and trying to figure him out. Like all that was interesting. And so I'm interested to see what they do with those characters in the future. And obviously, seeing Wanda in her full glory and seeing the twins back was a lot of fun too. But yeah, that's just, I guess, some initial thoughts of the good that I liked.
Cool. All right, get your notebooks ready. Scarlet Sorceress Supreme, please.
Yes, I hope y'all ready.
We ready. Go for it. It's your show.
I mean, I hope everybody got it all out, because
I'm the button presser
to just go all the way in. Just know I don't have any bad parts, so I'm just going to enjoy the good part of the whole movie. Okay, so starting off, Strange tells Christine, "I love you in every universe." And then the end credit scene, the mid credit scene come, and Clea pops up. And if you read the comics, you know she's Dormammu's niece, and she's Doctor Strange's wife. That's all I'm saying. So you love her in all the universes, but the one Clea in is all I'm gonna say. So I was like, oh, come on, Doctor Strange. But I will, just leading into that, I like how Christine asked him, was he happy? Dr. West comes to him and was like, was it worth it? Was there any other way that we could have won this? And Dr. Strange is like, no. So you see the part of like sacrifice versus happiness. And sometimes what you have to sacrifice in the long run will bring you happiness, even though it doesn't seem like it at the time, because he had to sacrifice his relationship with all the Christines, apparently, in order for him to be Doctor Strange. And he's the Sorcerer Supreme in most of the other multiverses. That's why America was like, "You're not the Sorcerer Supreme here?" And he's like, "No, I'm not." But so it's like, then you look at the whole sacrifice versus happiness and what actually defined happiness, because he thought being with Christine would make him happy. But then as you watch the movie and he kind of develops, he realized that may not have been what his happiness was supposed to be anyway. But we also see like the trauma of Endgame, because now we're outside of the Endgame and him talking to Dr. West. And then we see how Wanda is traumatized because she had to, kill Vision, and then the time stone comes up. And because he got the time stone, he was able to undo Wanda killing Vision. So she had to watch Vision die in front of her 2 times. So we see the traumatic effects of that. We see Dr. West like, I lost 2 cats. Oh yeah, and a brother. And then we see like how Dr. Strange lived, and Christine is like, oh, by the way, here's my new husband. Oh, he likes you. Can you give him an autograph? And then he literally turns water into wine at her wedding. Like, you're at a wedding where they're like, like the symbolism of Jesus turning water to wine at a wedding. And I was like, y'all think y'all slick. Y'all think y'all real slick, but I'm catching up what y'all doing. So we'll get into my notes now, because they probably are in the notes. We'll try to skip them. So Garganto's eye, if you watch it, it changes throughout when Doctor Strange is fighting him. I thought that was so cool, because he's like, his eye gets big and then it dilates when he realizes he's about to die. So like you see it, and then like the way he climbs the building, it reminds me of Doc Ock in the Spider-Man movies that just came out. So I'm like, this is awesome. Like, we are seeing how like they're kind of tying all these movies together. Also, he was like, they knew Spider-Man, but they don't know he's Peter Parker. So it shows that the spell that he cast in No Way Home actually worked, because he's like, oh yeah, we have a Spider-Man, but they don't know who he is. And it was like, well, where do he split the webs out of? And they was like, we don't know. And they thought about, again, Spider-Man when they were all together, and he was like, so is your hand the only place that you can do this? Because we had to make our webbing. So I thought about that part of the movie, because after I watched it the first time, I watched WandaVision and Loki 50 more times just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And then we see a Zombie Strange. So we're seeing a nod to how they're starting to kind of incorporate the shows into the movies. And then when they go to not the Sanctum, but Carmitage, we see London and Japan, London and Hong Kong's kind of both come out to come help fight. So I thought that was pretty cool, because we know that they have like a bunch of sanctums all working together. And let's see. Oh, my favorite part, the Living Tribunal. So the very first Doctor Strange, we see the staff of the Living Tribunal, right? So if you read the Doctor Strange comic books, after Doctor Strange wreaked havoc, the Living Tribunal, who's on, it's like God, the Marvel universe, and then the Living Tribunal, and then everybody else. And so the Living Tribunal comes and like, yo, fam, I'm about to eliminate you and all y'all in your own world. Doctor Strange's like, yo, wait a minute. Give me a second chance. Let me go out here and try to fix this, because I don't want you to, judge us and then destroy our universe. And he's like, well, you got a couple days to fix it, because if not, I'm gonna come and get you. So when they're going through the multiverse, which I thought it was really cool. So we see Tony Stark's drones in one of the multiverses, which I was like, this is pretty awesome. We see the Living Tribunal. His heads are not all together. They're separated. So if you don't really know who he is, you probably wouldn't have caught it. But there's all 3 of his heads in one of the multiverses that they go through. And his head was also in Loki. I can't remember which episode it was, but I remember seeing it in Loki. And I was like, we're going to get the Living Tribunal eventually. Like, y'all keep hinting at him. This cannot be a whole Mephisto thing. Like, I'm over Mephisto, but if I don't get the Living Tribunal, I'm going to go full Wanda, and it's going to be a problem. So I really enjoyed seeing the Living Tribunal. And the Book of Ashanti. So when we look at the Darkhold, you see Wanda is in the Darkhold. Everybody who touched the Darkhold, their hands turn black. So if you don't want to mess up your nice, beautiful nails, don't touch the Darkhold. But when they're out there trying to get the Book of Ashanti, the window and the sanctum is shaped like the door thing for the Ashanti. So I thought that was really cool. But when he opens it, the page that disappears has a star, like America's star, when she takes them through the different multiverses. So I thought that was pretty cool. So when Strange goes to her and it's like, Zombie Strange talking through, he's talking to Zombie Strange. When he goes and says, I believe in you, is because I think it's because he's seen that page with her star on it to show that, because they're like, oh, well, Wanda's picture is here because she's going to destroy everybody. And so he's like, well, if her star is here, then she has to be the answer, because Doctor Strange is very calculating. He's very smart. So he probably put together, if Wanda is the destruction and her star is here, then she has to be the answer to Wanda's destruction. So instead of him trying to off her, because Wanda was like, look, we can't do this. You're going to take her power and be done with it. He's like, no, I believe in her. She's going to get up and do it. Then she gets up, and I know y'all don't really care for her, but I thought y'all be happy, but whatever. And she gets up and she punches Wanda. And then she takes her to Gehenna, because that's what I'm going to call it, because this is a good Christian show. But then she realizes, this isn't going to work. I'm going to take her to her kids. And if you realize, every time they show her kids, they have on the colors that they wear for their costumes. And I thought that was pretty cool too. So she does this, she takes her there, and she does this in front of the kids, and we see 838's Wanda. She still had the scars on her face and stuff. So we know that, just go back to 838 Doctor Strange too. So I should just follow my notes, but I've seen it 3 times. We don't really need to know. So we see 838's Doctor Strange, right? And how he's next to Thanos when they are about to kill him. When they're about to kill him, we see Thanos's glove. It does not have the Vision's Mind Stone in it. It's missing. So since Vision's Mind Stone is missing in 838, it makes us think that Vision is still living. This is how this Wanda has her children. So our Wanda doesn't have her Vision, but their Vision seems to still somehow be living somewhere. And we know Vision is, yes, he's a robot, but he is still part human as well. So their Vision is still where he was at during all of this. I have no idea. I don't know if he died eventually or something. I don't know what happened, but their Vision is still there somehow, because the Mind Stone was not in Thanos' glove when they was killing off Doctor Strange. And I also was happy that they had the humans on there. I don't want them to be canon, but I was glad he was on there, only because the way she murked him, and that's probably gonna sound really wrong. So if you look at when they all come in, I was very happy to see Professor X in his yellow cheer. One of the multiverses kind of looked like Cerebral as well. And I thought of that when I seen all the lights, because I knew Professor X was coming. And I thought about Cerebral, and I was like, maybe this is why they're trying to pretend Professor X is going to be in there, but maybe he's actually in there, but he wasn't there. And it's the cartoon Professor X. And so there's an extra cheer there. Well, Doctor Strange never actually made it to be part of the Illuminati. So I don't know who the extra cheer belongs to. I would be very happy to find out. If it's something, they probably should have came and helped them, but they probably seen it and was like, I'm not going to be part of this. She out here just murking everybody. It's crazy. And when she walks in, again, the horror aspect, she looks like Carrie. She has all the oil from Ultron on her, and but she looks like it's blood, and she looks like Carrie when she walks in, when Carrie's in her prom and she's about to murk everybody there too. And I was like, oh my God, she's a Dr. Carrie. We had the person who should have been Captain Marvel in the first place. I digress. She did a much better job in her 5 minutes than Bree. And I feel sad for Bree. They was like, we're gonna put you in here real quick because we need you for Endgame. And they didn't really give her a chance. But all I'm saying is that she did a much better job, even though they still all lost. And so then Wanda is like, she literally takes Black Bolt's mouth away. He screams in his mouth, and it causes him to kill himself. And you see it, you see his scream, because you see the way his face, you see it. And I'm like, there's nothing you can do while you're seeing this man scream inside of his mouth and kill himself. And then here come Reed Richards, and he was like, y'all have a wife and kids. So if you know the comics, you know that Nathaniel Reed is actually a descendant of Reed Richards. He is one of the variants of Kang. So we already know his kids actually exist in here. You have a wife and some kids. And so we know his kids exist in here. So there's Nathaniel Reed. We kind of see how this might actually go. Then she just oh, you like string cheese? I do. Bam, here come Reed. He gone. He out. And I mean, it's as powerful as the Illuminati supposed to be. She literally decimated them. Of course, the women is stronger. So they come in. But she still decimates them too. She's like, I got tricked for all y'all. And she just comes up, and then she just she's like, y'all bout it? Because I'm bout it. And then no. This is why we always have problems. So, and also Ultron by Ultron bots been there, that tells us that Vision has to still be living because the way it was in Age of Ultron. So I do appreciate the fact that Vision is still alive somewhere, and we have White Vision. Where was White Vision? White Vision was he in a different multiverse? Anyway, I digress. So also we see when Doctor Strange goes to fight Evil Strange, how he has the third eye. The third eye in the comic is actually for the eye of Agamotto in the comic. So it's like that's basically what it is. So we see that the Evil Strange has a third eye, and we see how the incursion works. So the incursion, they will destroy your planet if everything goes on. So we see like the two red lines running parallel, which looks like in the TVA when it was like how the timelines, how we mess them up. So we see the two timelines where they like kind of diverge from each other, and why theirs is all jacked up. So Evil Strange is in here just like with his third eye being woke and everything, like, yeah, it don't matter. I was fighting somebody and they won, and now we out here, we about to die. It don't really make me a difference, and I'll kill you anyway because you think you're somebody and you ain't. Oh yeah, let's go back to Doctor Strange's dream when he wakes up and he's like, oh, the dream is so real. And it's because their multiversal selves can kind of like sense each other. So it made me think about when Tony was like, I had a dream, it was so real, and we had a kid named after your crazy Morgan. And it makes me think they have been kind of hinting at the multiverse is kind of verging for a while, because they did having, Morgan, because he loved her 3,000 and she loved him 3,000. I miss Tony. All I can say, y'all can do what y'all want, everybody else. Kill off Thor, bring back Tony, and I'll be fine with that. I said what I said. So anyway, so then we see how like even with that, like Tony could have been seeing like a multiversal version of himself, but Reed Richards and Professor X been in there. It makes us know that we probably do have mutants somewhere. I don't know where they're at, but we do have mutants. Hopefully we can keep John as Reed Richards because he has the look. I think he'd be perfect. And the variants all kind of look like each other anyway, except for the Lokis. The Lokis is off the hook. They're a whole totally different story though. But I would like to see John continue as Reed Richards. So I did like that part I like the whole movie. So then we see like how amazing like it is. Oh yeah, well Professor X goes in, he's walking, of course. He's walking in and he goes to see like Wanda, and she's in the rubble like when they were kids. And if you look at the TV that's there, it is the beginning to WandaVision. And so like SLC, why would you do this? So the beginning of WandaVision. And so
well, people need to know. I mean, you like when it was Batman, it was all I was nerding out. So I'm letting you take control. So you go for it.
No, I'm almost done. So then we see like WandaVision on the screen. So those are, the notes. So I play piano. Well, I'm learning to play piano again. It's still real rusty. I'm trying to learn Fly to the Bumblebees. I'm telling you, anybody who play music knows that's not some song you should really be trying to play. But if you see like the Strange fight, I like how they use the music to like to play in the Johann Bach that they're playing. I was so excited because I love classical music. And Evil Strange uses the 5 strings that you use to like write your music on to stop the notes from hitting him. And I thought that was very creative, especially if you love music. And I was like, that's pretty dope. And when I heard Bach, I was like, they're just even more amazing. So I really, really appreciated like that whole movie. Like the whole movie is just amazing. And I'm probably forgetting stuff because I started reading the notes because I already knew what I wanted. Oh yeah. And we see why Strange is also kind of like so kind of like into himself and don't really get too close to people because he brings up his sister. And I was like, this makes a lot of sense of why he's emotionally the way that he kind of is. Like he's really reserved. He tries not to show how he is too much, but the memory that they show when they were him in America was coming, and you could see like the memory of when Christine gave him that watch. And then I liked how like at the end of it, like his hand is still jacked up, but he replaces the lens of the watch that he wasn't going to replace. And I think that symbolized for him, like him moving on and him like finding whatever he needs to find without holding on to that past of having Christine. And then because he was messing around that dark hole, like now he got the third eye too. Oh, and one last thing. Zombie Strange is out there fighting the dead souls, and he uses them to fly him over to like fight Wanda. Like that when that happened, I was like, I stood up and was like, yes, do what you have to do to go defeat Wanda. I didn't want him to defeat Wanda because I love Wanda, and I'm hoping that she's not actually dead, but we'll see what happens because there's no proof that she's dead. But I do really enjoy like how he used that to his advantage, and that shows how calculating Doctor Strange is. Like I love Tony. Tony was very smart. Tony always did what needed to be done. But I feel like Doctor Strange has that too. But Doctor Strange is even smarter than Tony, which is hard to believe because Tony is like the smart. Well, next to T'Challa, because T'Challa is the smartest, and well, sister's the smartest, and then he's second, and then everybody else. But to even say like he's smarter than Tony is like how he really thinks and analyze stuff. I think is pretty amazing, and I love the end scene when Bruce Campbell finally stops hitting himself. He was like, "Oh, it's over!" Like that part, that to me made it even more perfect. And I watched that scene all 3 times because I really, really loved it. Those are all the things that I could think of in the. Oh yeah. Oh, so also one last thing. Evil Strange has purple, like the purple sparkly stuff like Agatha had. So you realize like his is purple like Agatha. And if y'all really are Doctor Strange fans and Scarlet Witch fans, we're getting House of Harkness coming soon. So that made me really happy because it was like we still know it's Agatha all along. So we're gonna find out how. So we're getting House of Harkness, but Evil Strange is purple, just like Agatha, and I thought that was really, really cool. Because I didn't realize that until today. I was like, oh my gosh, it's because I rewatched WandaVision, and then I went to go see it again, and I was like, his is purple like Agatha, and that was pretty dope. So those are all the high points, probably the whole movie. All the high points, and there's probably other stuff in here that I didn't get to. That I didn't get to, but I love the movie. I love the movie.
All right, so everybody, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, so listen, this is you've been looking forward to this film since they started talking about it.
I was
You've
happy.
been hyped for this, so you can have the show. This is your show today.
Sorry, Chris, I'll probably use your part.
It's okay. It's okay. So we are also introducing our brother in Christ, apologist in Detroit. Dude, thoughts we're in the you could give your general thoughts, and of course you can give the parts that you do like first.
First I have to say that we saw Mephisto in 2007 Ghost Rider. So Mephisto been around for a long time, just in case you didn't know that. Yeah, okay. My initial thoughts was it wasn't what I expected, yet I still enjoyed it. I appreciated how while I was expecting, I didn't know what to expect. I guess my imagination was running wild with the possibilities, but in retrospect, I felt like them streamlining the story was probably best. I felt like when I thought about it after watching, I was like, you know what? If this was like, if they did all the wild stuff I had in my mind, this movie probably wouldn't have made any sense. So it was great. Second, like to see all of the seeds planted for Secret Wars was like, it was like, that's a great story. And I started kind of theorizing, how that can potentially play out. So that was great. So you said the things I liked about it, and what was the second question?
Yeah, just the things, your general ideas of the whole film, and then of course your thoughts. Like, what did you like about the film?
Yeah, so so those are some of my general thoughts, and then I liked the film. I felt like it was a more coherent and concise story than I expected, but that benefited it. And so I enjoyed it thoroughly. I've only seen it once so far. I've been meaning to get back, but just been real busy. And but I certainly plan to get back and see it again and kind of pick up some more. I know I always pick up more. The more I watch a movie, the more I pick up and notice it. So.
Cool. Yeah, so for me, Michelle mentioned one part of the film that there were a bunch of times when my jaw dropped because of the visuals, right? The color grading and the way they did everything. One of those scenes was what Michelle said is when he got the cape of the souls. That was visually stunning. Because I thought I'm like, because in the trailer you just see you see it, but you don't really like get the context of it. And so the first thing when he pulls out the dead body and says, "This is the one I'm gonna basically reanimate," and kind of, I guess, sleepwalking with that body, I was like, oh. And to me, it was great storytelling in that they planted the seed at the beginning of the film. He buried him, and then they brought it back, and that's that is definitely the sign of a very good storyteller. Not just planting things for nothing, but it was very purposeful. And so I really love storytelling that always brings us back to a small little thing, because we thought that was it. Okay, fine. Because when I'm watching Zombie Strange in the trailer, I'm thinking Doctor Strange is the zombie, right? I'm thinking, oh, this is another multiverse version of Doctor Strange. But with the fact that they pulled Defender Strange, made him the zombie, and then he was sleepwalking with his body, I thought that was very interesting. I thought it was a very good concept. And of course, when he had the cape, when he opened his arms and all the arms came, I was like, oh, it's visually stunning. The movie did great visually. Again, when your girl steps out of the mirror universe and kind of comes out of like the ring, I thought that was really cool. There were so many really cool things that I really liked about the film. But if anybody doesn't have anything else to talk about the good, we could transition.
do.
BK,
I
go
do.
for it.
So another thing that I saw, the power of literature, right, plays a major plot point in the film, right? Because she becomes who she becomes because of what she's reading, right? She's reading the Darkhold, and by her, not only reading but applying what she's reading, it corrupts her. And the only thing that can stop her is another book. And this
Mhm.
book has this amazing ability to defend against
Mhm.
things that corrupt you. You know what I mean? So it's like what you read plays a major part in one's life.
Are you planting a seed for the end?
Yes.
Yeah, I figured you would be.
So it's, I think for us as believers, when we look at that, it's like, man, that's powerful. That what we read, what we intake, definitely has reverberations in our lives.
Mhm.
Now, one more thing, I've been watching all these YouTube breakdowns of the movie, and they find all these Easter eggs, but there's this one scene that nobody talks about, and I'm real curious. And can I share my screen?
Yeah, go for it, bro.
All right. And maybe because I'm Mr. Agent Near East, that I saw this, but all right, here we go. All right, so we've seen the scene, right, with two kids. Now look at what's in the lamppost on their right. You see
Yeah.
that?
Mhm.
I'm gonna blow it up the next thing. All right. Those are two Coptic crosses.
Mhm.
Why does Wanda have two Coptic crosses in her house?
I don't know, bro. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. No one wants to talk about it. No, not nobody wants to talk about it, but no one's brought that up. Like, is Easter eggs or different hints or clue? This, I don't know. For me, that's just weird that
Mhm.
that this particular universe's Wanda happens to have two Coptic crosses in her living room. Like, what does that mean? So that's all. I just thought that was interesting.
It is interesting. It is interesting, definitely, because you're like, okay, what's going on, man? Because I mean, there were so many Christian undertones in the film, like Michelle was talking about earlier, the water to wine, almost the redeeming of his soul. I mean, there was just so many things, and of course, you're bringing up these Coptic crosses, and so when we get into the last portion, when we talk about the Christian undertones and the things that maybe go against Christ in many ways, we'll definitely jump into that and get deeper into it. So yeah, there are a lot of really cool things in the film. So now this is the fun portion. Michelle says she's not going to talk during this one, but we'll see.
I
doubt it.
do have one thing. that I
Okay,
wanna
so
say.
so you go first. All right, so now we are at the bad. Things that we wish would change in the film, things that we didn't like. Michelle, you go first.
I will say that all of this is like a nod to how Wanda acted in House of M.
Mhm.
And I just wish that they would just go full on House of M. That's the one bad thing that I see. Like, we see House of M Wanda, but we don't have House of M. And so it's like, if we can get them to like just full on get mutants, I think we would be able to flesh out Wanda's story even more than what they already have. And we get, at that point, we get Wolverine. I mean, I love Wolverine almost as much as I love Doctor Strange and Wanda and T'Challa and Tony. Not as much though, but almost as much. And so like that's the one thing like I really want them to just full on bring the not in cartoon version either, like
Mhm.
actual mutants. That's the one bad thing that we didn't get is more than, I mean, I love Professor X, but other mutants too.
Yeah. Okay, Nate, What didn't you like about the film, bro? Or what do you wish they might have changed or maybe jumped into a little more?
Yeah. I'm surprised Michelle hasn't brought up M'Baku yet, but anyway. Um, so again, I may feel differently about this if I watch it.
Are you done? Are you done?
That was for Michelle. Okay, she got to see a little
Oh
Baku.
Lord. Oh Lord.
M'Baku, yeah.
All right, go ahead, Nate. My bad.
But yeah, so I might feel differently. I mean, if I were to watch it again today, maybe this wouldn't be such an issue. But I wasn't as drawn in by the character stories as much as I wanted to. Like, I know there was a lot they were trying to deal with obviously with Christine getting married, and I mean, Strange obviously still being in love with her, but not really being able to be with her, maybe in his own way because he loved her and he thought he wasn't good for her. And then there's this relationship with America, which I don't know if it's in some way supposed to like replace the relationship he had with his sister or something. I even forgot that he had a sister until Michelle mentioned it, because you guys are all so much nerdier than I am, which feels weird because usually I'm the nerdy one and everyone's just looking at me blank.
We'll do a Doctor Who episode so that way you can make us look insignificant.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that'll work. Yeah, so so there's all these like looking back on it, I felt like I needed, for me personally, more with just Strange's struggle, with Christine, and then meeting America, and then as well as Wanda's struggling with needing her sons back, and that's in there, but it wasn't done in a way that it sort of drew me in. It was resonating with me, where it just felt like you kind of have that in there in the beginning, and it's still kind of there almost superficially, at least for me. And then it felt like everything in between, there was a lot of action, and then they were trying to kind of get from that to the end. And it was like not until you got like Zombie Strange at what is it, Wondergore, or whatever that's called, that place, where you kind of have like America thinking, okay, you're gonna have to sacrifice me, are you? But then he doesn't, and then he realized he doesn't have to betray her, or he doesn't have to sacrifice her like Defender Strange was going to. He wasn't going to betray her, and so there's kind of like, it felt like there was a moment there where it's like it didn't feel quite like I liked it. I liked that they had this relationship that was formed. But it didn't feel quite earned for me. Where it's like, okay, they were leading to this, and they built up to this, and then okay, this is where the relationship leads. And so I felt like, for me, there needed to be more playing with, what was motivating all the characters, and maybe somehow tying Wanda's struggle with needing her family back, and maybe Strange in a way needing family as well. Maybe finding it, because lacking it, not having Christine, maybe kind of finding it in America, in a way that he doesn't, maybe have with the other sorcerers. And so I think, I like the beginning, I like the end in terms of the character story. It just felt like they didn't quite connect those dots emotionally for me, and so I think that's what I found lacking, in terms of, at least, again, for me, like drawing me and doing it in such a way that I felt invested in their story. And so, I mean, I liked it at the end, when Strange is walking away through the portal, and then America is kind of like, how did it go? I think she run up to him or something and stops him for a second just so they can talk. And you like all those moments, and it's just like I wanted to like this even more, and I did like it, but it just somehow it didn't quite feel. I wasn't quite feeling it the way I wanted to, because I think I did get that with I was emotionally invested with Peter's story in No Way Home. Once you had all the Peters there, and he's dealing with May's death and all of that, and so they, you know, that kind of married in the multiverse stuff with the character story, I think, pretty well once we got into the meat of the story. I think, like, you know, within the second and third acts. So yeah, with this movie, I felt like it felt a little bit like they were trying to hit all these plot points, and maybe it's because I just don't know the source material enough, so I couldn't appreciate it the way like Michelle does with all the Easter eggs and whatnot, and all the references that, you know, I'm missing. So I think it wasn't. It just didn't. It wasn't resonating with me as much as I wanted to. It wasn't tugging at my heartstrings as much as I wanted to, and it felt a little bit like they were just hitting the plot points and maybe kind of moving, almost like they were. It was more of an episode out of the whole MCU, more than it was like a Doctor Strange story. That's what it felt like to me. Like it didn't quite, because I felt like, at least in the first movie, I guess it is kind of like, it was sort of like a version of Tony Stark's journey, but I still liked it. It's, you know, whenever I rewatch Doctor Strange, that everything about that, you know, draws me in. I love his journey and his story and him being who he was, and becoming who he becomes at the end. And I felt like it's just, we didn't have as much of that kind of character journey that I wanted to. Like you obviously see him kind of grow, and there's change, and with all the characters, it just didn't quite. It just almost feels like you see them there, and then at the end you see them change, and you don't quite see that in the middle for me. So that's I think that was what was lacking. But again, I feel like. You know, I could, now that I kind of, and it's like what Chris was saying, like I wasn't sure what I was expecting either. So that's sometimes throws me off too. I mean, that's what threw me off with Age of Ultron, right? I didn't know what I was expecting. So that kind of, I think, threw me off with the first time I watched the movie. Kind of knowing what it is now, I might be able to appreciate, you know, all the different beats. I might be able to see all the things that I didn't feel like I was seeing in terms of the character story. And again, I can see that there's a lot of seeds, I think, they're planting in threads that will probably lead into later stuff in the MCU and with all their characters. And I can see probably watching those later installments in the MCU and coming back and appreciating this even more, just the same way that I appreciated Tony's story a lot more, you know, after seeing him in Civil War, seeing him sacrifice himself in Endgame, and how that kind of that gives a lot more significance to him, you know, making the mistake of creating Ultron and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like, okay, I think I can see I can see appreciating Strange's story a lot more depending on what they do with these characters later on. But yeah, so I think that's the only kind of complaint I had, was like the character story for me didn't it felt like it wasn't as strong as I was hoping. But again, I think it was still a good film, and I can see myself not caring about any of that even if I watch it again. I mean, I will have to see. Because there's a lot that I'm not remembering. I mean, you guys are bringing up stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, all this and that happened, this happened, and so but yeah, initial viewing, that's how I felt. What was missing for me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
BK, what didn't you like, brother?
All right. I didn't like
Look at
Black
Michelle.
Bolt. I didn't like Black Bolt. He's trash. The whole Inhuman thing, trash. The trash in the comic book. It was the series was trash. It was canceled after 2 episodes. You only watch the whole season online. Trash. Black Bolt's a horrible character. How you gonna write for somebody who can't really speak because they'll destroy things when they speak? And he's been washed several times within the comic books. Hulk destroyed him.
Thanos.
You know what I mean? Thanos destroyed him. He's trash. 2. Like, and there's no reason for the Inhumans, the Terrigen Mist. They give the Terrigen Mist and nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. It's crazy. But anyway, so 2, there's a fight scene between Strange and the other mortal, right? And they're fighting down in that little trench right below the seats of the Illuminati, right?
Right.
And Strange, he parkours himself out of there, right?
Right.
And Mortal is stuck. How is he stuck when he has the vaulting boots of Voltor? The boots literally help him vaulting. He can vault out. The boots allow him to walk in air.
He had on his moccasins that day.
No, he had it on, and they purposely show you in the camera. They zero in on the boots. All of a sudden, he forgot how to use the boots. I thought that was weird.
So he had his magic Tims on, but couldn't do nothing.
Exactly, and
Gotcha.
he was using the magic Tims. That's the thing. He was using it until then. He's like, "Oh wow, I can't vault anymore. I get what the batteries die. Like, I don't understand. I don't know how that works." But anyway,
The LA lights.
you know what I mean? So I didn't like that part. It was funny, but it was kind of weird at the same time. Like there was such a big thing for the Illuminati, right?
Mhm.
And like who's in the Illuminati, and we find out, and Wanda dispatches them 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah.
And then the way they announce these guys, Reed Richards, the smartest man of the planet. Really, that's how you introduce people?
That's like a wrestling match, right?
Yeah, in this corner, right. But then, if you're so smart, why can't you perceive that this Wanda is a Nexus level being, and you really should focus on her rather than the Strange that you're talking to right now?
Mm-hmm.
He lacked the foresight. Smartest man in that universe lacked the foresight because their Wanda wasn't a Nexus being at that time. So he's like, as whatever. Really?
Steph isn't that smart to begin with.
Yeah.
What?
And knowledge doesn't equate to wisdom either.
Well,
yeah, but the thing is with him though, like
knowledge though.
See,
exactly. He
Reed
didn't have
Richards,
that knowledge.
Reed Richards in the comics is the smartest person of every multiverse. Like they have a council of Reeds. He should have known. Oh, wait a minute. This girl's wiping people out. Maybe I'll reach my hand out and grab her. It was so quick and easy.
And when she comes in, Dr. Strange, well, here she comes, genius. Well, now what you gonna do? I love that part. That was great. But yeah, I just the way they got dispatched so quickly, for the exception of Marvel, right? She kind of held on for a little bit,
right?
And again, I still enjoyed the film, but I felt like the film didn't really move the story the way I would like to, because like in the first phase of the MCU, we quickly knew who the big bad was. We know it's Thanos. He's grabbing these gems. We got to stop him. We knew where we was headed. We still don't really know where we're headed. There's so many. You know what I mean?
We know exactly where we're headed.
I know you're saying it's that.
I told you already that we're headed towards Secret Wars. I'm afraid of you act like we.
Yeah, it's not. But it's not.
See, but the whole thing is like
I'm the
well read in the source material to know
Supreme. I'm the Scarlet Sorcerer Supreme. I'm telling you where we're going. I mean, I'm
great.
giving you
That's great.
I'm
but
the
you would have to
Richards
know. You would have listen. You have to be so well read in the source material to get that. If you're just an MCU fan, you don't get that. They haven't provided that for you. You would have to know the source material. If you are just a fan of the MCU, there's no way you know where we're headed.
I disagree with you because Loki told us exactly where we're heading. Loki's the King or He Who Remains said, "Hey, prior to me kind of winning the multiversal war, all of my variants were fighting with each other for supremacy. And at the end of that, all of the timelines went wacky, and then all of these stories started to play out the way that they are. I think it's pretty clear that and then this one dropped all these hints with the incursions for Secret Wars. So I just assumed that it's going to be Secret Wars, and instead of King Doom, you're going to get Kang as the main villain, instead of Doom as the main villain with Battle World.
But again,
and I think that's why they kept Thor over also.
You're fudging because even with Loki, you went in that series knowing the source material, so that helped you. If you're gonna be honest, that helped you.
Yeah. See, that's what I agree with Alfredo on this point, in that you have to know Like we know Secret Wars, we know okay, multiverse. Like we have to. It's hard, right, to look at it from an objective, a truly objective point of view with all the knowledge we have in comics, right? Because my wife had no idea what was happening. I mean, she truly, and she doesn't follow the comics at all. She loved Doctor Strange, so she agrees with Michelle. She thought it was great, right? So she has no negative connotation. She's like, oh, I thought it was great. And then when I told her, oh yeah, who's this and who's that and who, and she's like, she has no idea. Now, I'm not saying that every fan is going to be like completely not knowledgeable. My wife never really
Right.
read comics at all, but I do agree in that if you do not know anything, you don't know the ultimate end, or at least you're pointed in directions with hints. So I agree with Apologists in Detroit in that they mentioned it in Loki, but a person, I had to watch it a few times to catch it, and I know comics, so I know that there's got to be a bunch of new people like, what is this? What's going on with Secret Wars? What does it even mean? And so when we looked at the beginning of the MCU, when after the first Avengers movie, we knew that that person up there was going to be the ultimate villain. But even though we know Kang is going to be the dude, but I just think it's not as clear. Um, to others. To us, we know they're going to Secret Wars. And then Incursions. I had to look up Incursions at first. I was like, Incursions? Like, what? And I was like,
Secret
okay.
Wars.
I had to be reminded, right? So if me knowing and having read had to be reminded of certain things, because I don't know exactly where it's going. And I think kind of like with the film, with the film, it's very unclear, or it's like it's not, it doesn't have a direction yet, because the storylines, I think we were like forced to accept America. It's like you got to give us like a little more background of her. Like you were like, okay, here she had this traumatized incident, then this, now she's best friend, and it was just like I think that they could have done the film without her and just gave Doctor Strange the ability to find some kind of spell to traverse the multiverse, and we wouldn't have missed her. That's my opinion, because I just think the character herself was a weak character, not because of who she is or whatever. It's just because I'm talking about the writing of the character. I didn't feel anything um for her. And the fact that she punched Wanda in the face with that super punch, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. This character out of nowhere just wipes out Wanda. I mean, I get where they were going with it, but I just think it was a weak development of character and writing. Now, the character is pretty dope as far as like the ability to traverse the multiverse, and the way they did it was cool. I just think, I don't know if Nate was going in this direction where when you said that she didn't have, like, you didn't care too much about the relationship between her and Strange, because there's no development of character of her. Like, you don't know why you should care about her as much. And so putting her in a relationship with Strange, who we already care about, is kind of like, you're kind of like forcing that relationship through the film. And to me, the film should have been her and Strange from the beginning traversing the multiverse together, so that at the end, when all these things happened, then it would have been a big deal. But because we had so much, I think this film was trying to do a lot of things, and it had to. It had to tell us what happened with Wanda, tell us what happens with Strange, tell us what happens with the multiverse. And there's so much going on that there's not a, at least in my opinion, there's not a consistency of, okay, what story are we telling? Because I think if we had, and this is my opinion, I think that if we had America have a small little, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes of development of her character. And then Doctor Strange pops up. And then we have a little development of him. And then they traverse the multiverse together into these. And this is why this is why I'm not holding the film as high as I would others, is because I feel that if they would have taken the characters and had them traverse the multiverse and getting in all these weird, scenarios where, oh, we have to make a sacrifice. There has to be a battle here and a battle there. And I just think that would have made me care about them as a team and as characters more. And then when America goes and she finally finds it within her to believe in her ability, then I would be like, okay, cool. Got it. It was earned. But for her, I just think that it was rushed. But it may not have been, and I'm not saying the movie was bad. I just think it had a lot to do. And just the way that story was told, I think it could have been better, at least better told, for us to care about them. But it has some good
SOC,
things too.
SOC.
Yeah.
Also explain now, since we're talking about America. Can you please explain why she's not Latina?
Because she doesn't come from Puerto Rico.
There you go. Bing,
She
bing bong.
she doesn't come
Bing
from Puerto
bong.
Rico.
They're advertising her as a Puerto Rican.
I don't care.
You don't care.
She does not. She comes from a whole nother planet. Not
But
even
Comes from a
not even Puerto
utopian
Rico on
planet.
that planet.
she's America Chavez.
Oh man.
So
I'm just saying, she's the Latina that everybody's been waiting for.
No.
no, who's waiting for her? No one's waiting
Nobody.
for her.
The Latino, the
No.
Hispanic.
No.
That's who's waiting for.
I'll take the far off Groot before I take Chavez.
Groot. Yeah, you guys. Groot is actually the first Puerto Rican in the.
But not in the MCU though. Not in
Not the MCU.
Not in
No.
MCU. Not in MCU.
Y'all got Groot.
Apologies in Detroit. I feel like you got some stuff in there, bro. What okay, what didn't you like in the film that you think could have changed, or are you totally satisfied with the direction of the film?
No. I agree with BK, and the way she blew out the Illuminati was just like ridiculous. Like, to me, I was like, come on now. And it's like, everybody gonna take their turn one at a time. Let me go first. Okay, now let me try. I felt like that was kind of like, hey, y'all supposed to be a team and they got no teamwork at all. All right, so that was one. All right, I felt like Wanda's motivations were ambiguous. Okay, I think that they were implying that she didn't have motivations, that she was kind of under the spell of the book of the Darkhold.
The Darkhold.
But even in that, I felt like they didn't do a good job of rationalizing this effect of the Darkhold. So they alluded to Chthon. They had allusions to Nightmare. They had allusions to Mephisto. Like, there are allusions to Hell Lords. And to me, I would have preferred the movie open with a narration of the history of the Marvel Universe, the existence of the Hell Lords, and with maybe a little bit of, and then maybe jump into another scene, and then eventually, early in the movie, jump to that scene with Defender Strange in America running. I didn't have an issue with America's character development because effectively she was the MacGuffin of the film. So it's really, we're not used to having MacGuffins, being animate to begin with. So for me, it was just kind of like, hey, she's kind of like this thing, and I knew enough about her to, it's like, oh, she's super strong, she's super fast, like she got superhuman strength and durability and all, and endurance and all of that stuff, and she punches portals into other universes. But yeah, I felt like Wanda's motivations were certainly a little bit confusing, and then I felt like Doctor Strange effectively, character-wise, is a clone of Tony Stark. Tony Stark will do the same thing. He'll do anything to win, anything. That's why he creates Ultron. And here's Doctor Strange using the Darkhold because he'll do anything to win. And even after he's been warned, like, hey, you're kind of the problem. You're the greatest. You're the greatest risk of the multiverse. It's you, kind of deal. And here he goes. He still does it. He still goes in and uses Darkhold and is like, yeah, I'm gonna do what I got to do to win. So I felt like that. It wasn't like so overt, and it was enough entertainment around it for it to not be this like glaringly obvious parallel. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's kind of the same thing that was going on with Tony Stark there. I felt like the film was shorter than it should have been. I felt like you could have tacked another 10 minutes on this Joker and really, did a few things to kind of made it more satisfying. I felt like I didn't feel disappointed per se, but I didn't feel satisfied. I felt like, okay, I watched the story, seeing the villain, implode the Wonder Gore, the temple, on top of herself, and then leaving her death as some ambiguous notion was unsatisfying to me. Yeah. What else about the film was kind of unsatisfying? That's all I can come to mind right now. But yeah, those are a few things that kind of, as I walked out of the film, I felt like, okay, I wasn't as impressed as I initially had expected. But yeah, I disagree with BK on the Inhumans though. I agree with him on the series, Trizash, because I saw the whole thing when it originally aired, and I was like, oh, this is bad, which is terrible because they had pretty decent actors in it, but it was clear that this was like low budget, and I felt like You look, don't do nothing low budget. Just don't even do it. Just don't do it. That was terrible. I do think that man, I can't think of a movie right now off the top of my head of a mute where a mute is like the lead. But in my man, I'm like, I know there's one out there that I've seen that was like pretty decent. So it doesn't bother me that he can't talk. I love seeing him shred Strange in that flashback of them defeating Thanos. That was like pretty cool to me. So yeah, but how did Wanda know that was Black Bolt's power? Like, how she know that to just
well, he said it. He told her that.
They explained it to her.
No, Reed Richards. He said,
yeah,
and here, Black Bolt, he can destroy you with just
one
a word.
Yeah.
And
Okay, you're right.
She's like, really? And
let me fix that. Right. Let me fix that for you.
Now, I do want to say that was a very bold death scene for Marvel to put on screen.
I love it.
It's actually blood. Normally with blood, you get a higher rating with a little trickle of blood coming down his
nose and his eyes.
Right. And he was like, when he did
it, his brain was in the back.
Yeah. I think visually, I felt that. Like, I was like, yo, like, I felt bad for him because you got to think about it. And here's the cool thing. He's been trained his whole life not to talk because it's so destructive. She takes his mouth away. And the first thing he does is the thing he's been trained not to do is to scream. Now, the reason why I like that so much, because you got to imagine the horror that went through him. And I think they captured that like she took away the one thing that I have. And he's like, oh, and the way it happened, the way it glowed, and then his head just collapsed. I thought that was a very good visual. And there was a very good acting scene, like, because I wish we would have got more out of the characters, especially Reed Richards. But there was something that I got to say Krasinski nailed. And it's a very small, insignificant thing. But to me, I caught it. When she asked him, is your wife still alive or whatever, and he pauses for a second. He goes, yeah. And that small scene, you realize that Krasinski knows how to play family because he did that on the film, Quiet Place,
yeah.
Right? And he's very good. He's a very good director when it comes to showing the love and for family and things like that. And the way he paused and said, yeah, you could tell that he loved her and he held her dear. But the thing is, it was just a small scene. And so I know there are some people out there, like everybody was fan casting Krasinski because of the way he looked, and most likely he could pull it off. But there were a lot of people being extremely critical of the small screen time he had and said, oh, well, he's a terrible Mr. Fantastic. I thought he was going to be better. I'm like,
oh, no, he's a great Fantastic.
The dude had like 3 to 4 minutes really of like total. He probably had more, but I'm just saying a small amount of screen time, and he can't even unpack the character. And the way they kind of presented it was like, bam, bam, bam. Now, here's the thing. The trailers messed up the whole Illuminati scene. It messed it up because the trailers showed pretty much everything. When they showed Professor X, that was a dumb move. Our boy CMB, the first time he saw it was in the theater, and he was like, yo, can you imagine if we all didn't see that? And then you hear,
yeah, that was
like,
dope.
What? I mean, the actual theme to the X-Men. Now, you know what it does hype me up for is X-Men 97. Now I'm like hyped because we know that they're going to tie something in there. And, hashtag I'm waiting for Gambit. Hashtag Gambit. He needs to be redone because how he was in Wolverine Origins was horrible. Horrible. I like the actor. He was
Tyler. Was that Tyler Hoechlin? Who was that?
No, it was Taylor Kitsch. I think he had the look of Gambit, and I would accept him. But the thing is, he was written so poorly that it was just like, it doesn't matter who was in the scene. It's kind of like, there are certain things about Wolverine Origins that I truly loved. Number one, the opening scene was so dope to see him fight through all the wars. I thought that was very good to capture that. But everything else was just written bad. And I even like the actor who played Sabretooth. I think he did a good job as Sabretooth. And Gambit, that character was cool, but this is like they forced him in there. But anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the Multiverse of Madness. Now, for me, I wish, and I guess since we're still in the bad stage, I wish they would have just traversed the multiverse and gave us a little more peeks into those universes. Again, I think the movie could have added at least, I know you said 10. I think it could have added 30 minutes. I think this could have been one of the films, another hour, like to be a 3 hour. Because if Batman could pull an hour, this with all of the info could have pulled an hour. And I would have accepted a 3 hour film to tell the story and to make us care. But they shortened it up. They and I think it was a lot of really cool things, but none of it was really built out. And I don't know. That's my final thoughts on the bad portion. Does anybody else have anything else before we get into the
Yeah,
end?
Alfredo made me think of something. For one, Chris, I love your Doctor Strange shirt. I think it's pretty dope. And I will say that when Alfredo's like, you guys are going in on this poor Latina woman, who is the first Latina in the MCU.
She's not Latina.
But she is though.
No.
That's how Marvel is marketing her, so she is.
Marvel's wrong.
You see her little Puerto Rican flag on her Puerto Rican star.
Actually, that's not a Puerto Rican flag.
I know it's a pride flag, but it still looks like a Puerto Rican one. So that's what we're going with.
Wow. Now you're gonna mix that.
Wow.
Oh, I thought it was something else.
I seen it 3 times. I know what her flag looked like.
Sean the non-believer. Sean.
All right.
No, but Alfredo made me think of like Doctor Strange kind of like good witched her. Like she was Dorothy and he was the good witch. And she was like, you could have went home all along. Well, Doctor Strange was like, yo, the power is in you. It's always been in you. And when Alfredo said that, all I thought of was poor Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz, how she was stuck there. And she could have went home. Like Doctor Strange straight good witch for the poor Latina MCU superhero. That's all I got.
Oh yeah, Revelator. She is alive. There's no way that Wanda's dead. She has way too much to do. And the actress said, She says she wants to utter the words, "No more mutants." So I'm hoping the next film. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping we get, and maybe that will be the film where the mutants actually pop up. Maybe that's.
And Alfredo can nerd out. Then Alfredo will nerd out.
Like we know they're now in the multiverse, or at least Strange does.
Right. Go for it. Yeah,
it was very small. It was very small. It was not like a lot of other movies have done it. But I even and so I do feel like, in spite of the fact I didn't appreciate it. I don't have an appreciation for it. It wasn't like in your throat, but it just like the agenda. It's like, man, that bugs me. Like I literally stopped watching, CW DC shows because it was so in your face there.
So overt.
And it was just like, oh my goodness. It's like, is the show all about that? Is it not about these iconic characters that you have the IP for?
And now we're on to our Christian portion of where it goes.
And so
run faster than someone.
That makes a perfect transition into, all right, so we did the good, the bad, and now we are in the ugly, where we have to admit, as Christians, when we're watching films, we have to be careful. We have to explain things a little more. We have to be a little more detailed and, kind of looking out for certain things. And so now we're at the ugly portion where, okay, what in this film should Christians educate their kids about? Maybe talk about a little more. And maybe, some things in the film that you think would actually pull people away, in the sense that it glorifies certain things that shouldn't be glorified, or, certain things in the film. So I'll let Apologists in Detroit go first.
Yeah, the agenda, of course. You see that there's this common notion today where people, particularly famous people, but like a little bit everybody, just think like, I can do anything I want to do if I put my mind to it. Don't ever let nobody crush your dreams twice. And I'm like, look, man, look, like all of us, that's not true. Like, so some people shouldn't do anything. Like, it's like movies like this diminish the consequences. Like Doctor Strange got a third eye in his head. Now, when Clee show up, he like, bet, let's go do this. And it's like, dude, you just went through the multiverse and they just told you are the greatest threat to the multiverse. Right. And then as soon as you get fit through this, somehow, some way, things work out. And then as soon as the next thing comes, you do realize when you go into another universe that you throw things off balance. I mean, it's like, that's exactly what they said. And you just don't willy-nilly go again. And Wong is always warning him. We can't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And it's like he doesn't get it. So yeah, I think that's dangerous. This sentiment of you can do whatever you can do whatever and things will work out in the end. It's like unfortunately that message gets communicated quite well. and it's not very good. Goodness, what else? What else? Trusting people, it's very subtle again, but when Strange shows up and he's in the hex, and Wanda's just playing him, just like
Mhm.
playing him, and then she's like, you didn't mention America, did you? Nope, I didn't mention that name. Yep, it was me all along. I'm the one sending the monsters after it, and you got an hour to turn her over to me, or there's going to be consequences.
Right.
And yeah, and broken people. I guess I would say, broken people are a part of this, this broken and fallen world. So, that's not something. That's something that we have to be considerate of. I don't know if that's necessarily a negative thing, but that's certainly something that we should be considerate of. Because to me, on one hand, I feel bad. I feel like, man, this person's kind of mentally ill, and we're kind of like treating her like a villain. On the other hand, it's like, yeah, she's kind of killing people. We got to do something. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
She
All right,
was
there you go.
pruning branches the way the TVA prunes branches.
Exactly. All of the
Yeah.
little, like, I love how Marvel has such nuance, and like they have so many levels of thoughtful connectivity between their stories, and so that's one of the things I appreciate about it. I think that Marvel these days, particularly now that Game of Thrones is off, like nobody's telling stories. Nobody's telling really rich stories that really draw you in and have compelling characters and lines and stuff like that. Even when they do an off movie like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was, it's like, hey, it was off. Still pretty good though. Even though it was
Right.
off, still pretty good.
BK, dude, this is the portion where you get to shine, brother.
Oh, word.
Yeah, brother. Go for it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the the huge elephant in the room is the one thing we liked about it is the one thing we should be cautious about,
Mhm.
and it's sorcery.
There we go. I was waiting
It's
for it.
sorcery. The Bible is very clear that those who follow Yahweh should have no business participating in the dark arts,
Mhm.
right? Whether it's divination, necromancy, there's all different sorts of alternative ways of interacting with the supernatural realm that Christians should not be privy to,
Right.
and but we all it's something that we need to be leery of, but something that we should have a robust understanding of at the same time,
Mhm.
right? Because we are Christians and we believe in God, we believe in a being that lives in another realm of reality. Like this realm of reality exists, and as Christians, we should be aware of that, and be aware that there's more to life than the concrete things that we see amongst ourselves every day.
Mhm.
But it's how we interact with that realm, right? We're supposed to, directly interact through our Savior Jesus, and not through some sort of other means, right? So that's something that we got to look out for. We don't participate in sorcery yet. We should have a robust and healthy understanding of the supernatural realm because it's around us every day.
Now let's jump off that point because I think it was a very important point. Is having a robust understanding of the supernatural. Number one, we are Christians. Our faith itself is supernatural, right? God, right, created the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that in them is. We have these supernatural beings, angels, and we have all these things, right? And I think it's important that we take the time to explain these things to people so that when false spirits do come, that they're not, oh, well, I thought it was just, Jesus was a man and then that was it. I'm like, no, this is God in the flesh and he's fighting demonic spirits in this world. And so, just having to talk about those things, I think is important. I think some of the dangers that may come for, especially those of us, those, young kids, is to glorify this in the sense that they think that this is cool and they should do it because I think it opens the door, right? And this is why I think it's so important that when Christians take their kids to film, that they take an active step in saying, okay, let me tell you what's going on in the film, how it's contrary to the word of God. And this is why you need to watch out for these things. You see how Doctor Strange looks really cool when he does all that? You see, sin can look attractive, but you have to tell them that, because everybody thinks that sin or false teachers always look like sin and false teachers. And this is where it's so important for us in the body of Christ to say, listen, sometimes sin can look beautiful, it can look attractive, but we have to be able to discern between the right and wrong, the good and the evil. And, Jesus Christ tells us that all the time. Hey, look, these are wolves in sheep's clothing. What does that mean? That means that this person wants to kill you and destroy you, but looks like he doesn't. So that to me, I think is important. Just kind of jumping off that point. One of the things I want to take and do in Act 17 too, so we're going to twist a little bit of this is what happens when human beings are given quote unquote godlike power. It never leads to righteousness. It's still in chaos because man is imperfect, right? So we have Yahweh, who is God, right? Ultimate power, and he knows, and he is perfectly righteous. But if men get even a taste of this kind of power, they break everything apart. We get a multiverse of madness. This is what happens if people get superpowers. I think the MCU, especially in this multiverse of madness, the TVA, we see an idea of, if man had quote unquote godlike power, they would destroy everything because they don't have godlike wisdom, godlike knowledge. They are still finite beings who are sinful. Therefore, it is impossible for them to quote unquote run the universe in proper ways, right? And so this is why I think, again, these conversations are thought-provoking, right? You remember when what Paul did in Acts 17, he took, the poem dedicated to Zeus, twisted it and said, no, let me tell you the reason you do have this. In you we live and have our being. Let me tell you who is the one that possesses that character and power, and that's Yahweh. But he talks to them through their stories so that they can grasp what he's saying. And so this is, again, the purpose of Real Reviews, is to talk about these films, to acknowledge, yeah, it looks great, it's attractive, but at the same time, you have to have wisdom with certain kinds of film. You can't just say, oh, just watch anything. No, that's just not wisdom. That's not Christ-like. We have to be careful. And again, we also have to be examples. So yes, we are talking about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, if you can't tell from my TV, and then Nate having the thumbnail. So I wanted to be very clear. We're not promoting sorcery and witchcraft as something to be practiced or to be coveted after. But what we're doing is talking about a film that we watched, what it portrayed, and how we can take these stories and talk to people about them in constructive ways in order to glorify God in the script, and to glorify his word, and to show a little bit more of what it means to have wisdom, right? Because all of us, without Christ, we would be deceived. We would say, oh yeah, sorcery is cool. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, I remember going into the theater and how whatever was on the film, I came out of the theater acting like that character. Like, for example, we could talk about like a couple of Bruce Lee flicks I used to watch back in the day, and I would come out thinking I could fight. I was, for a good week and a half, I was a bad martial artist. You know what I mean? Or when I see like the Neo in the Matrix, I was like, oh, I try to dress cool, wear the black. And so what I'm saying, I say that to say, is that these films influence people. We see, what we did maybe as kids is, oh, we just pretend to be them for a while and then it wore off. But sometimes these films can influence people to go in the direction fully invested. You have individuals who practice witchcraft actively, who commune with evil spirits actively. So we can't ignore that. We should talk about those things. But at the same time, we also understand that, these things have an influence on people. So we as Christians need to be the responsible ones to talk about them in detail so that we can give people an understanding of what the world that we actually live in.
And for my part, just it'll be really quick. Actually, because I did take Zeke go see it, so I taught him about the Witch of Endor and how Saul had her resurrected Samuel, and Samuel was hot. He was like, "Yo, fam, what you do this for? Like, you was out here in these streets doing things you ain't supposed to do." So it gave me a chance to like teach him that story. So, and I say you'll see a part in the movie that will be like this. So when you watch this part of the movie, know that when it happened in the Bible, it was wrong. So he enjoyed the movie, but he understood, like, when this scene happened similar to what happened in the Bible, that we should not, be doing this. So it does give you a chance to like find a cool way to teach your kids Bible stories that you normally wouldn't be able to do, but I wanted him to see for that because I've seen it before. Because I always, if it's a movie I'm unsure of, I watch it before I take him to go see it. And so I was like, I'm gonna take you, but I need you to understand that this story is similar to this one, and this is how it was handled. And he had a very hard time because he did what God didn't tell him to do. And so I did kind of teach him a little bit about how Christians deal with spiritual warfare, not in depth because he's 9. He don't know what it is. His spiritual warfare is no, you can't get them Jordans today. So so he doesn't understand actual real life spiritual warfare yet. But it does. It gives you a chance to be like, yes, you see how cool this movie is. The Bible is cooler. It talked about it first. And what Alfredo said at the beginning of the show is that it tells you like what you read has an effect. Me too, Phil. But he said what you read has an effect on you, which is very true. This is like the less of the flesh, less of the eyes, and the pride of life. So we see these things, and they do have an effect of, if you don't understand it, it can take you into a direction that you don't want to go. But I agree, like what we read has an effect on us because, we read the Bible. We know that these things shouldn't be done as Christians, and we can properly place them in the compartment they should be in. Because I'm a Romans 14. Anybody who'd be like, you shouldn't be watching Marvel movies, I'm going to Romans 14. Just for the record. So you come to me like, you shouldn't be doing this, and why you got that? I'm a Romans 14. I'm ready. I'm ready for anybody who got something to say. I read Romans 14. You should. Matter of fact, SOC and AID has a teaching of the whole Roman series, and I don't leave it at that. But yeah, I really did. I know like the whole movie is like against the whole Bible, but I just really feel it does. It gives you a chance to be like, yay, kids, this is a great movie. Now let's read this Bible. And what does the Bible say? The Bible is cool now because it talks about these things, because a lot of people don't know the Bible as much as they think they know the Bible. And when they say, like, I grew up in church, and then they don't know these things, I'm like, what church did you grow up in again? Because I'm very unsure that you grew up in anybody's church. But I do think that in, America's 10, because she is the first LGBT Latina in the MCU.
Not Latina. I'm just saying.
They said she's the Latina.
You know what I hate too? The fact that she likes pizza. It's her favorite food. And I'm like,
and she's Latina.
No, she's not Latina.
Per the MCU. It's their story. It's per the MCU.
She's from another universe, and she's not from Puerto Rico in that universe.
Latina universe. She's in a Latina universe.
The only Latin thing about her is her last name.
The whole, she's the American dream of Latinas.
Wow.
I did. I said
it. Anywho, Nate, any spiritual significance you see in the film that we should talk about, as far as like maybe how the film kind of degrades God in some way, or actually tries to point to Jesus in some way? Just anything that you notice from a biblical perspective from the film.
Well, I think y'all, just listening to y'all talk about it, it's helping me kind of think about just ways in which I should, and I think we all should be approaching just film in general as Christians. Like I went into this film, like it didn't even occur to me to think of any kind of issues that anyone would have with the sorcery and the witchcraft and all things like that. For me, obviously there's scriptures that get quoted all the time. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live, or whatever, right? Things like that. And so there's a clear kind of delineation between, this is like fiction, this is a whole different kind of universe, there's different kind of rules. Same thing when you watch like Harry Potter or whatever. Like it doesn't bother me in the sense like, oh, I shouldn't be watching this because I think it's demonic. And it didn't even occur to me that I don't think it occurred to me that anyone would have that issue until I started seeing people, Christians sort of having expressing issues with it. Roxby had sent me a screenshot of somebody who posted in a forum how she had just walked out in the middle of the film. Like, how do you walk out in the middle of an MCU film? Like, you're supposed to stay until like the end of the credits. even leaving when the credits are running, that's like a rookie move. You're leaving in the middle of the story. But
blasphemer.
But it's just kind of, I think I'm listening to you guys, I'm kind of reminded there's there's different kind of themes and ideas that get pumped into us that we don't even realize when we're watching these films. I mean, I think a trope, speaking generally, that we sometimes see in films over the last maybe, I don't know, decade or longer, is that you see a lot of times you'll see kids be heroes where their parents are just blockheads, and you know, it's kind of like you don't really think about what that kind of image, how that affects your worldview and what you're thinking. And I think even when I was growing up, you kind of, I mean, you see kids being heroes, the adults kind of not getting it, or they're ignorant, and they don't see what the kids see, which is true to some extent, but it almost kind of, I think in my imagination sometimes you kind of imagine yourself where it's like, oh, I know more than adults, I see things that they don't see, and I'm going to stand up for what's right and be the hero, when, you know. And so there's things like that get into your head that you don't think about, and so I think there's that kind of issues, and obviously you have America with the two moms, and there's those issues, and and they do it in such a way that it's easy to almost feel like, it depends on who you are, but I think I could almost see it feeling like, well, you know, it is what it is. At least they didn't shove it down your throat. They just kind of present it there. But then it's like, it's easy for that kind of thing to be normalized, and there's, you know, there could people who don't want to deal with it, and they're just like, well, you know that's wrong, right? You tell your kids or whatever, right? Well, that's not biblical, and you just leave it at that, without, you know, where it's like, it could be an opportunity to talk about what marriage is from a biblical standpoint, right? That's that kind of an opportunity there. Or there's going to be, you know, maybe people who are like more, you might say, fundamentalists, who are just going to react to it and bash it, and say, you know, anyone who go watches this film is not a Christian or whatever, you know, something like that, and that, which doesn't help anything. So I think kind of like what BK was saying too about the supernatural, is this a good opportunity to talk about there is actually a supernatural realm that we often don't touch on, which is something that I was reminded of when I went to apologetics conference at end of April. Like, we don't think about that, right? We don't deal with that aspect of spiritual warfare. And so, you know, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier about, I went into this kind of just thinking of it as a fictional universe, and not thinking of ways that we can see how it parallels our actual reality and talk about that. And it's like, no, there's an opportunity here, because I think for some kids, you're not going to necessarily have to be like, okay, don't touch Ouija boards, don't do magic. You know, they're just going to know, right? Like, I was one of those kids, like, for a while, like I even on my own, I was like, oh, I shouldn't be watching, you know, the Ghostbusters cartoon, because I was like, oh, that's kind of demonic, you know, it's dealing with ghosts and stuff like that. Like, that was just me as a kid saying, you know, and so I abstained from that for probably just like a couple months, and I was like, oh, it's actually not that bad. But, you know, that was me, right? Like, and my parents didn't forbid me to watch it, but so some kids can know things, right? They can understand, and they can appreciate that I can appreciate the story, and I don't have to glorify it. But then you can kind of, you can almost become numb to it, where it's like, oh, it's not an issue. You know, these conservative, crazy ant fundamentalists are just going overboard. We don't have to worry about it. We can just go to the movies and enjoy it. And it's like, no, there is a supernatural realm that does exist, that probably gets not, it's not covered as much by the church today, I think. And so, there is an opportunity to talk about, you know, there is an aspect to this that we can talk about. It may not be exactly like this, but at the same time, we shouldn't think of the supernatural as, you know, the non-physical realm as something that's simply something in fiction. You know, there is a reality to this, and so we don't want to become numb to it either. So there, you know, and just, you know, like the mission statement of Real Reviews, where we try to to look at the truth of scripture and use film and TV to kind of parallel and illustrate what that is, there's an opportunity there. You know, your family, you might be big, huge Marvel fans. You can go watch this and then just use that as an opportunity to talk about this stuff. And also make sure that you are forming a strong biblical worldview in your kids, and also have, allowing yourself to make sure that you are maintaining and forming a robust biblical worldview as well. And not necessarily because you need to make sure that they're not getting into sorcery, but there's just an opportunity there to talk about truth, to talk
Right.
about what is real, because that's the beauty of these kind of stories of literature, film, or what have you, is that it you have art that's imitating life in many ways, and there's so many different ways that we can just enrich our conversations with our families or with other people in church, when dealing with these things. And really just not take for granted that we have that we understand reality in there's different people. I mean, because we live in an age where people are like talking about my truth. This is my truth. This is your truth. There's no such thing as absolute truth. Well, is that even true, right? People don't think about that. Right? Apologists kind of know that line, right? It's like there's nothing that's truth. Well, is that true? I'm sure, like
Right.
That's something we hear all the time. It's like you hear Frank Turek or whoever saying that kind of thing, and it's like, okay, that's we understand uh, that there is this kind of blurring of whether or not there's this objective reality, and we understand that we need to deal with that, because if there's no truth, then how do we ground anything or argue about anything, or talk about morality? And so reality, truth, is a very important thing. And I think we don't always realize that, because we just think, we just understand truth is truth, and we just accept it. And it's like, no, people are sort of fudging things. Truth isn't truth anymore in their mind. We just sort of take things for granted. And so there's a myriad of opportunities to take these films and all the things they touch on to actually talk about it. And it's I think that's something we should think about, which is, I'm kind of appreciating more that we have this channel that to deal with these kind of things, because I wasn't even thinking about it. Like when BK brought up the supernatural stuff and how there is the supernatural realm, it's like, yeah, you know what? Something I don't think about that much. I'm aware of it. I believe in it, but I sort of like, in some ways, I kind of go through life thinking I'm not affected by it, in the sense that there is no, I'm probably not being affected by by demons or whatever. Which it's just like, you want to take that for granted either. You don't.
Right.
So I think I'm just sort of going in circles saying the same thing, but it's just, I think there's a good opportunity that we sometimes miss to talk about this. And I think so. Talking with your kids, talking with your family, talking with people in your church that aren't necessarily thinking like apologists do, but also I think thinking about how can we talk to again the fundamentalist type people that are just going to poo-poo this outright. It's like, how can we also say, what is the value in watching these kind of things, depending on the maturity of the person, and spiritually, physically, so I think, yeah, we should as Christians, those of us who understand that we can watch films and appreciate it, and we don't have to not watch films with magic in it, like Harry Potter or this. Think about how we can I think talk about this kind of things to different people from different ends of, I guess, the spectrum, if you will. I think there's something we just don't think about as much, but there's so many things that we can do, because it is sort of this is what's relevant now. This is our mythology of today, and it's it's what people understand. And so we can, I mean, I guess I think it's kind of what you were saying maybe about the X-17, where Paul used that, the whole, unknown God, and to use that as a jumping point. This is the, I don't know if lingua franca is the kind of the right word, but it's the language people understand, the art that people understand, and everyone's watching the MCU, and it's still, I think, pretty strong in my opinion. It's as a storytelling force, and there's an opportunity there to talk about truth, and so there's a lot of bad, obviously, and agendas that are in there, but that doesn't mean that what is meant for evil, God can use for good.
Amen. Amen. And I think you touched on a lot of similar points that I did earlier as well. It's just, I think one of the things we have to be responsible, right? I think we just have to be responsible individuals about film. We have to be careful with what we watch. We also have to be careful with how we talk about it and who we talk about it to. Like, for example, like when we talked about the children, these are very interesting. Like, for example, I'm a big fan of film and storytelling. I love it. I think we're built to intake stories, right? Christ used stories to kind of brand into the mind certain ideals, right? Like I'll give you a good example. When Christ told us, "Don't worry about anything. I'll take care of you. Look at the birds of the field. They neither sow nor reap, but you see that I always provide for them." And every time, I cannot lie, every time I see a bird hit the ground, I'm reminded of that scripture, because there are times where I'm struggling with things, or there are times when, I might be struggling, just in life in general. And then I see that and I remember, oh, the Lord, he said he'll take care of me. And so this is why I love storytelling, because you can sometimes bypass, and I'm not saying we should, but I'm thinking sometimes we could bypass all of the intellectual jargon and hit right at the heart, get right to the heart of a matter. And again, I'm a person who knows full well that we should engage our intellect. Scripture and God gave us a mind, but sometimes we could get so lost in, oh, well, let me use this definition. Let me use that word. Let me talk about Greek and Hebrew. And you miss the whole point. Yes, you explained it wonderful. But what about the person who's suffering? How you think giving him a course in seminary is going to help with his current difficult situation? And again, I think it's very important that we understand scripture so that we can apply the knowledge that we have with wisdom, right? I talked about this in the Cult Her series I had about wisdom and knowledge. Yes, knowledge is important, right? Because the more you know, the more you get the information you have, the more you have to pull from to kind of help people. But wisdom is being able to use that knowledge in the right way at the correct time with the right person. And so this is what I think we as Christians should do. So like we're talking about the multiverse of madness. Yes, there are special effects that make things look amazing and beautiful and sound. Every director, and I definitely want to push this through, especially when it comes to real reviews. Every director of every film has a message and story they're trying to tell. Our goal as Christians on Real Reviews is to find that message and dissect it and tell you what the implications of that message is, right? So I think it's, number one, it's very responsible to do, but this is what Christ commands us to do, is to be able to interact with the people around us so that we can preach the gospel to them, but they have to be ready in the mind to accept that information. And a way to kind of be wise as serpents and harmless as doves is to use the things that they're attracted to and use that to our advantage. And that's what we're doing with Real Reviews, is using the films and the stories that people are listening to and kind of shining a light on it to expose some of the evil and some of the good things in film. Not every film has an evil agenda. Some people just like telling stories. And so some stories are absolutely fantastic and can be used, for the glory of God. Of course, some films you shouldn't do that with, but it's just being able to dissect that. Now, Apologists in Detroit, The Ugly. I feel like you're the last one, right? Because BK, you
No,
talked
I thought I
about it,
went
right?
first.
Oh, did you? Oh, my bad. So I guess we're done.
Yeah, I
So,
went first, and then we got into kind of the ugly, the spiritual.
That's true. You did kick it off, and my bad.
Yeah,
I remember.
spiritual,
Yeah. Okay, so that's the Multiverse of Madness. That's our Doctor Strange full review. So, okay, so I guess we just got to go around. Out of 5 stars, we're gonna save Scarlet Sorcerer Supreme for the last, so we can end on a good note. I give the movie 3.5 out of 5. I'm sorry, Michelle, but I gave it 3.5 out of 5. I just think there was so much more that could have been done, but it was a good film. I would watch it multiple times. I don't think 3.5 is a bad score. I think 4s and 5s are like reserved for like those, no doubt, epic films, but that's my opinion. I think 3.5 is a good solid score for it. I think that more could have been done with the film. I would like to watch it maybe 2 or 3 more times. I've only seen it once, right? So maybe if I watch it again without now understanding what's happening, maybe I could focus on the story a little more. But I give it 3.5. BK Apologist, what's your score?
I give it a 3.25, almost 4.
So you mean 3 3/4?
Yeah,
3.75.
There you go.
All right. Nate.
Okay.
I thought he was going to talk more, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Don't let Michelle scare you, Nate.
I know
No,
she's
no, I
intimidating. She's
Yeah,
she's doing her little thing behind the scenes and influencing Nate.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you, Jordan. At 3.5 is what I'm thinking right now. I could see it.
She intimidated him. You saw it, right? Just
I could see it changing or improving with repeated views. I'm gonna obviously rewatch this film. Several times, more than 2 and 3. I mean, it's just like we're gonna have to keep revisiting this, right? Each phase we go to, there's gonna be
better.
We want to revisit this and say, oh, what I need to remind myself of the strats.
That's a lie. That's a whole lie.
I really feel that way, but I know I'm the bad guy on that one.
I mean, I'm just like, I keep thinking back to the way that the film was done, again with the character development and whatnot, and thinking about how they did the first 3 phases, the whole Infinity Saga, and I just felt like there was so much more depth with what they did with the characters. Thinking of Civil War had so many characters in it. Obviously, they were able to develop it over time so that you don't have to reintroduce them, but they were still able to deal with Tony's story, to deal with Cap's story, and Wanda dealing with all that kind of stuff. There's so much depth to those characters that they were still able to deal with, even there was so many characters. And I'm kind of looking at Doctor Strange and I'm kind of wondering, okay, I know they changed directors at one point. Also, maybe COVID, there's some COVID issues. And I know Doctor Strange was supposed to come out before Spider-Man. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe there was a little bit of a mess or madness just because of certain circumstances. Maybe that's why they're not able to hone it in as well. So I think it does feel like there was something slightly lacking about at least the character journeys that I think we've had in during the Infinity Saga, that it almost feels like we're not quite getting in this film. But yeah, 3.5 out of 5 for now. I'm not sorry.
Apologies in Detroit.
Not yet, now.
Oh, man.
You know me, I got my 2 system rating, so I give it a 4 and a B-. In spite of all of its flaws, I thought that it was entertaining, and I want to see it again. So I can't. I feel like a 3.5 for me personally. You guys might be a little bit different. It's like if I don't see it again, no big deal. It's a film that I want to see again, and probably more than once. And then B- is because of all of the quality control issues that we mentioned. It's like, just throw on the extra 30 minutes and do it right. And, rather than, underdeveloping characters and leaving plot threads, unresolved. So, yeah.
Awesome.
4 B-.
All right. So we're going to give Michelle center stage. Go ahead, sis.
4.5 out of 5 stars. An amazing movie. It was really great. Don't listen to the two bald-headed guys. The only bald-headed man you should trust right now is Professor X, because these two have no clue of what they're talking about. Then they
Well,
influence
Professor
Nate.
X Knight got snapped in the show, so I'm saying
You should be afraid. You should be afraid too. And then they're gonna influence poor Nate. Nate is a gem, so I will let Nate slide for this moment. The other two, they won't even admit that there's a Latina in the movie who's now a superhero. So
I admit that there's a character with a Latina name.
I'll take them with a grain of salt of what they have to say. And then to say Eternals, that trash movie was better.
That's SOC. He's by himself.
That's me on that one. I'll take the heat. BK didn't say that. I said it.
I was talking directly to my brother SOC when I said that crack movie. Right. Oh no, but I'm not gonna worry about it. We will be reviewing Avatar, and just know it might not even make 3.5, because you know how I feel about the first one. The first one is a 1.5 at best. So don't worry about it. You want to talk crap about Doctor Strange? You want to talk crap about?
I can't have an opinion that differs.
And you think that I'm not going to lambast Avatar? And then you said the Eternals?
I love that film.
You only like it because the way it looks. You don't like it because the story. It was trash.
How you only like a movie?
Brother, you of all people cannot like the story.
Why?
Because of our Taino heritage. Really? Like, are we gonna segue and do it now? Are we gonna do it now?
I love Eternals.
Phil Fox, come on the panel right now.
You talking about Avatar? You talking about Avatar, right?
I said when I seen Eternals, I said SOC is going to love this movie because how it looks. It wasn't because it was well written or greatly acted. I seen the movie and I said SOC is going to love this movie, especially when I seen Babylon. I said, watch, he's going to love it. He's going to see Babylon. Like, oh, look how beautiful it is. Guess what he did? Guess what he did when he seen each other? He was like, oh my God, y'all see Babylon? I knew it, because I knew he was going to see them gates and just lose his mind. That's why
Hey, you want to hear a secret? Is that I was preaching in the book of Daniel before it came out, and I screenshot Babylon from the trailer.
The Ishtar Gate and all that.
Yeah,
all I'm saying,
it was sweet. I was like, it was sweet. It did a good job.
It was sweet. It still was a trash movie. Doctor Strange 4.5. It's a really great. Doctor Strange is a great movie. Best movie of 2022. Even though Thor coming out, and I'm still gonna hold very strong to what I said. And Avatar comes out this year. Best movie of 2022 is what I'm saying. Avatar is gonna be 1.5.
Don't Black Panther come out this year?
Yeah.
Okay. It's still going. Look, I said what I said about that. I said what I said. Wakanda forever and all, and I still said what I said. Best movie of 2022. 4.5. Really love the movie.
And
I love Doctor Strange.
And this is what makes real reviews so good, man. Is that everybody has a different. Like this is what I like. Different perspectives. It's awesome.
4.5. Don't listen to SOC and BK apologists. I wouldn't normally tell you listen to Nate, but at this moment you probably shouldn't listen to him either. And Nate is a gem. Nate is a gem to the community. They know I'll say stuff crazy to them and be like, don't say nothing about Nate. Now Nate's gonna want to join the bandwagon. He'll find out why I'm the Scarlet.
You can't have an opinion.
No, you can have all the opinions you want.
Feelings. Look at him.
You can have all the opinions you want, but just know, like we always say,
Nate. Look at that.
I love Nate. I still say what I said. Like we always say, you can make choices, but you cannot control the choices. And don't worry. Oh, we're gonna talk about Doctor Who too, and that's all I got for y'all. We're talking about. We're gonna talk about Doctor Who.
Didn't do nothing to nobody.
And we're gonna talk about Moon Knight too, Alfredo.
All right, easy.
Just talk. I want y'all to be ready. And I will say this:
Moon Knight was better than Doctor Strange.
No, oh, you a lie. I'm
sorry. You know what? You're right. Not Moon Knight. Episode 5 of Moon Knight was better.
Wow.
Than
I will say, I'm shocked Alfredo didn't bring up the crescent moon in the back of the Sanctum Sanctorum when it was dying. I'm shocked he didn't bring that up. But I will say, still 4.5. Doctor Strange, best movie, and I don't care what else y'all got to say. I like Chris. That's all I got.
She likes you for now. Don't say nothing she disagrees with.
Don't cross me though. Don't cross me, Chris.
We have a good time. I was talking to Richardson earlier today, Gregory Richardson earlier today, and yeah, we're gonna have a good time.
Jar was better. Yeah.
Right, we're out of line, bro.
We're gonna talk about. He's not. We're now going to talk about where we're going to be at coming up. I'm gonna be in the streets. I'm just gonna say it right now. And I'm also gonna be in down south, on the East Coast and on the West Coast. And people know why I made that statement. That's all I got for y'all. That's where I'll also be at too. All those places. But June 4th, if you're free, come to the conference. There may be something afterwards that Chris is already inviting everybody else to. So y'all
I
come
ain't
back
saying
too,
no.
I guess.
Listen, you inviting them now. I
No,
invited
I didn't invite no,
nobody
because you
else.
have already invited everybody. So
No, I haven't.
I'm not
I
gonna be
invited
there. But
Alex,
Chris,
Greg,
you invited
you
miscellaneous people.
gals.
And
Oh,
now
don't start with that.
Joy.
Don't
and now
start with
all I'm
that.
saying,
Easy.
I'm not coming, but there is a conference. I will be at the conference. There's gonna be a conference June 4th in
Michelle, are
Flint,
you
Michigan.
ticklish?
Why would you ask that kind of question on a live? That is, you know what?
That's
We're
strange.
just know I'm funny.
It's time for the fade out, SOC.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Fade this
Hey,
out.
everybody.
Fade this
So
out.
thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
I'm trying
Apologies
to
in
promote
Detroit.
the conference. I'm trying to promote the conference, and here Chris is like, now you on the list with the rest of these people. The conference is June 4th in Flint, Michigan. It's going to be like 9:00 in the morning to like 3 p.m. or something like that. If somebody can put the link in the chat if you want to register and you're going to be in the area, it's going to be a really good apologetics conference, and I hope to see you there, not for the after party, but for the actual conference though.
Cool. Apologists in Detroit. What are you working on, bro? Where can people find you? Promote.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like my little preaching stretch. So I preached last Sunday. I preached this upcoming Sunday. Then I preached the Sunday after that at another church, and then the week after that is the apologetics conference in Detroit. So I got like 5 weeks in a row where I'm gonna be doing some local teaching because. I recently did a show with Mr. Phil Fox, the People of God in Politics, and I'm pretty proud of it. I think it's a very, very important topic. I wish more people were interested in it at times other than when we're voting for some president or some congressman and stuff like that. But at the end of this year, this is a midterm, so people will care about voting then, and maybe we'll be able to distribute it a little bit more and get people to thinking like Christians instead of thinking like, American politics people. So yeah, that's what I have going on. And then of course me and Matthew, we always in the kitchen cooking something, some violence for somebody. Somebody wants something. I had a conversation with Samuel Say a couple of weeks back, about a week ago. About a 2-hour conversation with Samuel, and he's gonna come on, and me and Matthew's gonna interview him and have some questions, do a live interview with him. So that's coming up too.
Cool. Nate 2 D2. Where can people find you? What have you been up to? And you know what? How about what is your favorite film? Kind of film. I'll say that because I know film is pretty specific. I just want to say something. Go for it.
I don't have a favorite film or a favorite kind of film. I like all kinds of films. So I don't know how you expect me to answer that.
I know it was just a question I threw out there, brother. It's all right.
But you can find me. You can find me everywhere. You can find me on Facebook at Nate2D2. You can find me on Twitter at Nate3PO. Probably I'm posting the most on stuff on Instagram at Nate2D2. I'll have some random idea and I'll post it as a reel. And every once in a while I'll get 4,000 views for whatever reason.
Because you're famous.
No, sometimes I only get 30.
30,000?
No, it's just 30. But I did post some pictures from the apologetic conference that I was at recently. J. Warner Wallace did comment. I think we're besties now. But yeah, so find me on IG. I don't know. I do have I have a TikTok, but I don't never post anything on there. So you can find me posting random stuff, random reels on IG, just like Jordan should be doing on his reel reviews. He should be doing real review reels because you're missing out. There's an opportunity there, just 1 minute reels for reels, real reels.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I have to do so much. I apologize. You guys just keep on giving me more
I'm giving you gold. I've literally given you gold tonight. Just snack something that Amazing Me has done and just put up there as a reel. I mean, okay. Literally, I've given you I broke down a movie for you. You do 15 reels of that. Put a reel of Nate going. I mean, really, people will watch that because it's Nate.
Awesome.
That is true.
BK
And you
apologies.
said something too. A real review saying something too would go, you know.
Oh, gee, you're too kind. You're too kind.
BK apologist.
Yes, sir.
Please don't berate me, but please tell me what 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 are where can people find you? What have you been up to? And promote.
You can find me on YouTube, BK Apologist, and soon, very soon, I'll be doing a show with me, Vocab, Adam Coleman, and the Queen of all mods, Dean Yu. That should be coming up rather shortly. I won't disclose the subject matter yet, but it's going to be a little spicy. So
Come on, brother. You're the king of spicy. That's awesome. For me, just go to my channel, Servant of Christ Ministries. I've been doing a series called Cult Hurt. It's a very in-depth series getting into some of the reasons and the questions that a lot of ex-cult members have that they struggle with. Please make sure you go on there and check it out. I am coming back. I've taken about 2 or 3 weeks off only because I've had so much to do in my personal life and ministries I have to help and church groups and things like that. So I'm struggling at the moment trying to sit down and actually record it. I actually just finished writing the next one. It's going to be dealing with overcoming the loneliness, the feeling of being alone that ex-cult members deal with. So if you're interested, go over to Servant of Christ Ministries on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe. Look at the playlist, Cult Hurt. It's on my channel. I got a lot of really cool things I want to do with that. And so, yeah, that's what I'm working on at the current moment. Of course, real reviews. Our next one, tentatively, is going to be talking about the entire first season of Moon Knight. And we may have a special guest that you may want to tune in for, but we'll see. We'll see how everything goes. So that's it for me. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for joining us here on Real Reviews. If there's any film that you want us to review, to discuss, that has a lot of really cool points you want to talk about,
there's this film called Gattaca. I really think we should review that film.
Brother, let me show you.
I've seen Gattaca.
He mentions Gattaca every time you mention a film. It could be about anything. We'll be like, "Oh, we gonna walk out the movie theater."
Yeah.
Let me see
Gattaca.
It literally opens up with a Bible verse. Gattaca. It opens up black screen.
But bro, no one cares though. I've seen it. I liked it. No one cares. No one cares about that film.
He mentions that show every day.
It says, "Who can make straight what God has made crooked?" Ecclesiastes.
Gattaca can.
Let me say Gattaca can. Hold on, because I want Chris to know that I've been thinking about him.
Gattaca can.
I want Chris to know that I've been thinking about him. Let me
You got a thumbnail for this?
Yeah, of course he does. King of thumbnails right there.
He's the king of thumbnails, and Alfredo's the king of slides. Oh, that's nice.
That's right.
Okay.
See. So, brother, I'm thinking about you. We're gonna do Gattaca. I got it right. And of course, hey, secret. Look.
I see.
Look what's under it. Look what's under it, people. Oh, it's ready. It's ready. All right. So,
have you had a chance to watch the movie yet? Not yet.
No, not yet. But the thing is, it's good that I haven't watched it yet because I want to watch it and have it fresh in my mind.
He did the thumbnail. That's all he got for you is the thumbnail.
We're gonna do.
Curious if he saw it yet because
no, not yet. But I know it's on Netflix waiting for me, so I definitely want to watch it. I'm very interested. I read the premise of the film. I've heard about it, and I really want to see it. So I think it's gonna be a lot of really cool things to talk about. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna do Gattaca.
I was born in the Riviera, the Detroit variety.
Oh my goodness, this guy
quoting the script and everything. My goodness.
Yeah, see, he's ready. Anyway, so I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for joining us on Real Reviews. We're going to be looking at a couple other things and start putting in your votes now for season 4. We have some ideas, but go ahead. Let's see if your film makes it into the Real Review season 4. Anyway, with that said, God bless from Servant of Christ Ministries, BK Apologist, the Nate2D2 Apologist in Detroit, and the Scarlet Sorcerer Supreme, Christian Extraordinaire Apologist, Michelle Turner. All right, everybody. God bless. Take care and peace out.
Apologist in the USA.
There you go. There you go.
No.